I just want to be known how hot it is in this room because I have 4 lights going. This computer's massive. We don't have the AC on. So if you see me sweating, I apologize. Earlier this month, I posted that I was finally approved for gastric bypass surgery. Not a lot of people knew that I was going for that. I told some people in small groups or, some people at work. So when I finally announced that I had been approved, let me kind of give you some background of how long this journey had been going. So back in October of 2016, I started my journey for the weight loss surgery. I signed up, I started going to groups. I went to groups twice a week until early March. During the process, you go through different evaluations. So I had a psychiatric evaluation January 11th of this year. I knew my surgery couldn't be until at least March of this year because that would have been my 1 year at my job, so I wouldn't have been approved for the FMLA until then. So I was still just going through the steps to kind of wait until my turn. I had my psychiatric evaluation, January the 11th, and there were some concerns. Some of her concerns were that with all the emotional things that I've gone through, they didn't emotionally think that I would be able to handle the surgery. The surgery is a big thing. So that was one of their concerns, is they didn't think I would be able to emotionally handle it. She said that, she'd have to review it with the surgeons and get back to me. I didn't hear back from her until March 8th. She called me March 8th, so I was still going to classes. I was still moving along with the program, but she basically told me that I was going to be denied just from that initial evaluation. But she was going to talk to the surgeon. She was going to plead my case. So she got back to me March 8th and said that I had been denied. So I mentioned to her the day she called me that I see a therapist once every 2 weeks. And she said, okay, well, how about you have your therapist send over her paperwork. We will review that. So I went to my therapist. My therapist basically said, you know what? That's not what I do. That's not my job, basically. And she didn't mean that in a crappy way. She just meant that's not something that she usually gets into. But she said, you know what? I'm going to write them a letter and I'm going to tell them that I don't feel that what they're saying is true. She said basically she was going to let them know that in her opinion, I am emotionally sound to follow through. So she wrote the letter, and 2 weeks later, I got a call back that they had reviewed the letter that she had sent me, and they had overturned the original denial, and I was now approved. The next day, that was Tuesday, I think it was the 5th, around the 5th of April, I went and I spoke to the surgeon the very next day, actually, because they just happened to have an opening. And the next step for gastric bypass for me, because I had decided to go with the full gastric bypass, the X route, Y, whatever it is. I decided to bypass the I decided to go past the sleeve or anything else. I'm going with the full bypass. So the next step is seeing the cardiologist. So I actually go tomorrow to see the cardiologist. And after I see the cardiologist, if I pass this, which I should because I've never had any issues with my heart, I should be good. So once I clear this, I will be able to get my surgery scheduled. And that's so exciting. The fact that I started this in October of last year, I started this 6 months, almost 7 months ago, I was denied. And being denied was the worst feeling. It was one of the worst things that happened in a while. Because for me, I got very dramatic about it. I remember the day she called me, I was actually leaving work early that day. And I was so bummed, I wasn't trying to be emotional about it, but it was a very emotional thing. I remember driving home that day. That was a month and a half ago, so I hope I would remember driving home. Being so defeated that this happened, and, for a split second I thought, she just signed my death warrant, and that's very dramatic, and I didn't understand that, but that's the way I felt for a second. But then I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to rally behind this. So I started a hardcore diet the day after, because I wasn't going to let this bring me down, and I dieted until... And I'm still dieting now, but I went hardcore with it because I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this bring me down. I've had so much happen in my life. I'm not going to let this little setback. So maybe it was the universe saying, hey, good job, Mason. Good job, man. You did so good with that. We're going to give you this. So I go tomorrow for the cardiologist, like I said, then we'll schedule surgery. I will keep you updated on what happens with the cardiologist, because if my experience can help somebody, then that's well worth it. If you're watching this and you are inspired, or if you think you couldn't do it, but now you can because you see some shithead like me doing it, then that's awesome. So I'll definitely post another video after I go to the cardiologist and kind of keep it updated on what happens with that. So if you guys have any questions about anything, please feel free to ask. If I get enough questions, maybe I'll do another Ask Me Anything like I did with the whole trans man thing.